So your Perforce server admin has created you an account, and now you want to get set up and use Perforce along with your Unreal projects. Go ahead and enter the server address and then include the username that the server admin had created for you. In this case, my name is Fred. You shouldn't have a workspace right off the bat, so go ahead and leave that blank and select OK. Once you do, you're going to get popped up and it's going to tell you you need to set a password right off the bat. This all depends on the server's administrative security settings. For me, this server is set as the highest level, which is level 3. Enter a new password, and then once you've confirmed it, go ahead and select OK. Now that the P4V is opened up, you're going to be presented with all the depots that your server admin has given you permission to see. For me, the only permissions that this user was given was for the development branch of the EvoCore server. If we open this up, you're going to be able to see all the files in here. We don't have access to this yet. You can see we are not currently in a workspace. None are listed here. Come over here to Workspace. You can see nothing is listed there. If we hit the drop-down box here, we can go New Workspace. When this pops up, generally speaking, the way this is lined out is it gives you the username, the computer of which the workspace belongs, and then a random number at the end to signify a difference in the users. But you don't have to have this, and generally speaking, your root and workspace name should be the same. I'm going to keep with that same methodology, but we don't need all this right here. I'm actually going to go Fred_EvoCore. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to change this to be the same thing, Fred_EvoCore. And then down here in the browse, we're going to select the stream, and the only one available to us is the development branch of the EvoCore stream. So make sure that that is selected. Select OK. Now that's there. You're going to see it here in the workspace mappings. Do we want to switch to the new workspace immediately? Yes, we do. And automatically get all revisions. You can select that if you want. I'm going to show you how to do it without that. So I'm going to leave that unchecked for now. And yeah, we will switch to the new workspace immediately. Before we finish here, a couple things I like to set here in the advanced tabs is if you come down here to the RM directory, delete workspace directories when empty, I like to have that selected. And then on submit, I like to have revert unchanged files. So if we check out files that we actually don't do anything to, we just want to revert it. Otherwise, you're going to have to do this manually when you submit. It's going to ask you what to do. At a bare minimum, if you submit all selected files, then you're going to have revisions on files that may not have any changes, and it's going to make reverting back to a particular time and space a little bit more difficult. So if you don't make any changes, revert it. So select revert unchanged files, and then go ahead and select OK. Now that it's created the workspace, you're going to see that it defaulted and put us into the workspace here, and it created this folder that we specified in the last section called Fred EvoCore in the Perforce and Jesse users folder structure. One of the first things I suggest you do is we need to ensure that the P4 ignore file is set in your environment variables. If you come here, it depends on what your server administrator has named the ignore file. For me, it is .p4 ignore. So what I suggest now is come over here to the workspace. Before we get any files, right click on the folder here and then scroll all the way down here till you see open command window here. Once that opens up, let's go P4 space set space P4 ignore in all capitals equals .p4 ignore, just like we had it there. Select enter and it's going to set that for you. So now if we hit P4 set, it's going to tell us what variables have already been set. Hit enter and you're going to see there that it shows the P4 client is Fred_EvoCore. P4 editor is the notepad.exe when we need to edit text files. And then the one we just set, the P4 ignore, is the .p4 ignore file. So there we go. Just type exit or hit the X and you can get out of there. Select the depot tab here, and then on the depot on the stream dev, the one that we want to access, the one we're in the workspace for, make sure it is selected from the very top of the hierarchy. If you select this, you're only going to get this, but select the top development stream and then select get latest revision. Seeing as this is the first time we have accessed this project and downloaded it, it's going to end up taking a little bit of time. The larger the project, the longer time it's going to take, but it shouldn't be too bad if you're just starting out. And then once we got that, if we come over here to the workspace, now you're going to see in our workspace, we have all these files. And just to confirm that they are actually on our computer, if we right click on this folder, come all the way down here to show in explore, it's going to open open it up, and it's going to show you that folder structure. Open that up, and there we go. We have all the files that are from the Perforce server. Go ahead and close that back down. I highly recommend that you get in the habit or the routine of every time you load up P4V that you come over here to the depot, highlight your depot or your stream that you're working in, and select Get Latest Revision. If there's no different files, then you're just going to get down here at the bottom, No Files Update. This is especially important if you are working in teams or if you are working on multiple workstations. You want to ensure that your project is always up to date. So just get in the habit, whether you're solo dev, one workstation or not, just come in every time you load up, just hit Get Latest, and that should do it. So now we got this loaded up into our workspace. So now how do we integrate this with our project? From a workspace tab, if you come down here into the list of files that you have, your main U project, if you double click that, it should open up your Unreal project. If you get this warning that pops up, remember we are running a C++ version of the game. So you may end up with this one saying missing EVA Core modules. Would you like to rebuild them now? Select yes. And once you select yes, if you hit refresh, you're going to see all these extra files that are now in your workspace, but these will not get uploaded because of the P4 ignore. They are essentially just there for your own local game instance. Now that your project's loaded up, first thing you want to do is you want to come down here to the very bottom right-hand corner, and you're going to see source control with the big circle and a line through it. And it's going to tell you source control is disabled. Go ahead and select that. You're going to be presented with connect to source control. Go ahead and select that. New window is going to pop up here. For the provider, we want to come down here. We are using Perforce, so go ahead and select Perforce. Don't worry about the use P4 config. We don't have a P4 configuration file set up, so we don't need that checked. The server, make sure it should already default into the correct server, but just make sure that's correct. Your username should be pre-populated as well. My name is Fred. My username is Fred. And the workspace, you can enter this manually, but don't come down here to available workspaces and select the drop down, and you should be presented with your available workspace. If you don't see your available workspace, then your server settings up here may not be correct. So select Fred_EvaCore, and then you're going to see that automatically populate right there. And then go ahead and select accept. You're going to see a little pop up here. It says connected to source control, and down here in source control, you're going to see the little green check mark next to it. So now you are connected to source control. Go ahead and open up your content drawer. And with this open now, if you come over here to the content, your main file of your head file of your entire project, right click on it, you're going to see a button here called sync. Now you can check this out. Source control, you got a couple options here you can check out, which is going to check out the entire project. That's not something you really want to do. You only want to check out things that you need it. If you do it, if you're a solo dev and you want to do it, then by all means go ahead and do that. What we want to do is go ahead and select sync. This is going to sync all the assets in the selection to the latest version of what is on the server. Everything should be to the latest version, but let's just go ahead and ensure that. So go ahead and select sync. Syncing is generally similar to the get latest revisions that we did in P4V. Initially, it's probably good. You don't have to do this all the time. Once you get the latest version from P4V, then you don't have to worry about it. But if you don't open up P4V, you want to come in here, then this is how you ensure you have all the right files, is just by selecting sync from there. So now let's go ahead and check out a file. So if we come over here, there's nothing special to this. This is just a default project. I've done nothing with it. So if we come over here to the starter content, let's go blueprints, and let's just open up one of these. Let's go into the blueprint ceiling light. Let's open this up. Once this is open here, we could do pretty much whatever we want to with it. If we come over here and let's just move some nodes around, right? I'm going to take this one and I'm going to line this out straight. I'm going to line this out straight. And you're going to see why I'm doing this in just a minute. This isn't going to really affect anything. But if we come over here now and we go save, we're going to get presented with this pop-up box, and it's going to ask you, in order to save it, you've got to check it out. You can make it writable. I suggest not doing that because it only makes it writable on your computer, and the Perforce server isn't going to know about it. So always just do checkout selected. That's why they highlighted it blue. That's really the one you're going to want to do. Select that, and it's going to check it out for you. The other way to do this is if we hit the space bar, and you're going to see here this file we're working in now has a check mark. Now, nobody else connected to source control, if you're working on Teams, is going to be able to make changes to this file. The other way to check out files is if you come over to any other one, you can right click. Let's do the blueprint wall sconce. Right click on it, source control. You get the option here to check it out as well. All right. So now we've got this saved. And a couple ways you could do this is if you come down here to the source control, you select that. and you go submit content right there. And you can also go view change list. Let's open that up. It's going to tell you here, it's going to show you the default change list. This is similar to what you have over in P4V. If you select that, you're going to see here, it's going to tell you the name of the file that you have checked out, the path, the type of file, and when it was saved, and the user. It should show the user, but it's not showing the username. So if somebody else has this checked out and it's in the default change list, then you may see their name there as well. But either way, this is going to show you what it's all about. So now you can see the change list. And if you right click on this, you can submit the change list. You can revert anything unchanged. You can revert the files even if it is changed. Reverting means you take it back to the previous state before you checked it out. And you could do various other things in here, but you can check that out on your own. Most of what you're going to need is just these basic settings. But if we come here now and we go diff against the depot, so we select that in here. Now, if we differentiate files in P4V, when it comes to blueprints, P4V can't see the binary. It's not going to give you the structural information that you would get. You won't see it like a regular blueprint, is what I'm trying to say. It's great when you're doing C++, you can diff in there and it's going to show you the code and it's going to show things that are changed. But for us right now, we've got this. So if we open this up, you're going to come in here and it's going to show you the different things between them. So everything right here is the same. If we come down here to the construction script, which is where we were at, you can also see here we've got the yellow where some information may have changed, but we come down here to the construction script and it's going to show you exactly what was changed. So if we come back in here now, it's going to show that this is how it was. This is coming off of the server, and this is how we have it set up now. So this is the difference between here. So if you want to differentiate what exactly is different from the server versus what you have on disk when it comes to blueprints, this is how you do it. Drag it down. So now if we close this out, again, you can come down here and you can submit your change list. And if you do that, just like in P4V, you're going to be presented with a description, and you must enter a description. It's going to give you a generic one right here, so you can just hit save if you want to. However, it is always a good idea to give it a detailed name. Moved some nodes. I'm not going to save this one right now, but this is how you would do it. And if you want to continue working on the file, then you can select this to keep the files checked out for you. If you don't have that selected, when you hit submit, it is going to send the file back to the server and it's going to uncheck it out so somebody else can take it from you. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. I'm not going to save this. So now if I want to revert this file, if we right click on here and we go revert files, are you sure you want to revert the file? Select OK, and it's going to revert the file for you. Now I'm going to close this down. If you hit Control Space, open up your ceiling blueprint. When you come in here into the construction script, you're going to see it's set right back exactly where it was. So that is how you submit, check out, and revert files using the Unreal Engine. Back in P4V, I want to show you guys how to check out, add, and delete files from within the P4V client. So over here, you can see we got these files. We're in the development branch. So if you just right click on whatever file you want, you can go check out. It's going to ask you which change list. Select OK. You could tell it not to show you this dialog again and always use the default change list. I'm just going to select OK. And there we go. You can see we've got it now checked out within the client. Now, if we want to add a file, let's go over here to the workspace. Now, these ones are being ignored by the P4V ignore file. So you can't add those. It's always going to ignore those. You'd have to make a special declaration to get it in there. But I added this file just for the heck of it. I'm going to right click on this and go mark for add. Alternatively, you see it up here up top. You can have most of the functions up there without right clicking. I'm going to go mark for add. It's going to ask which change list. I'm going to select OK. And there we go. You can see a little plus and now it locks it in there. It's ready to be added to the server. It's not on the server yet. We have to submit all the changes before it does that. Now, in order to delete a file, just come up here, find whatever file it is you want to delete. I'm just going to randomly find something in here for props. We got this. So I want to delete this chair, right click on it and go mark for delete, which change list. Go ahead and define the change list, select OK. And there we go. These are the files you have on there. Now, if I wanted to make a submit of all this and I wanted to make changes and submit my changes, you come up here, make sure your change list is highlighted and then select submit. You can submit individual files here as well. Other options up here, I'll let you check that out. You can check the diff. We kind of talked about that in the last section. That would work really good for your C++. That's how you would want to do it there. You can come up here to submit and submit individual file, but if you select the entire change list and click submit, we're going to see here, write a change list description. It's going to force you to do a submit, do a description for your submit before it even opens up the options. You could just type one letter and it's ready to go. I highly recommend that you be as detailed as possible on this, because down the road, if you decide you want to revert a certain functionality because it worked better, you might want to go back and you're going to be able to review your change lists that were done for each of these files. So I'll try to be as descriptive as possible. For now, I'm going to select cancel. So now I want to revert all these files. I don't actually want to add this or check this out or any of that. So check the default and let's go revert, and it only reverted one file. Let's go ahead and right click on this and revert that. And by doing that, it's going to say delete files that are open. You can delete this completely from your system if you want to do that. I'm actually going to go ahead and select that because it was just a copy of something. So I'm going to have it delete it for me so I don't have to go back and go do that. I'm going to click revert, and it's going to warn me again, this can't be undone. Select delete files. There we go. It's deleted that. Let's just confirm that. We come in here now. You can see that file is gone. And then on this one, again, right click on it and revert. Go ahead and revert it. There we go. Now that file is put back to where it was. I didn't check it to delete that file, and we're all back to square one. Since this is a new project to me, I don't have any solution file set up for my IDE using C++. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to my workspace, and for my U project, I'm going to right click on it, come down here, show in Explorer. Once that opens up, I'm going to right click on the U project, and I'm going to select Generate Visual Studio Project Files. Once that's done, you're going to be presented with some extra files in here. It just depends on which IDE you're using. Remember, I use Writer, so I'm going to run the solution in here. So if I double click on the solution now, inside of Writer, I'm going to come up here now to where it says version control, or you can press Control Alt and Q, and where it says share project on, I'm going to select that, and then other services. We're going to get this pop-up window here that says, asks us to select our version control system. I'm going to come down here and select Perforce. Go ahead and select OK. With that done, go ahead and push Control Alt and S. It's going to open up our settings here. So if we come up here to the version control, come down to directory mappings, and in here, you're going to see the directory project VCS is Perforce. We need to select plus. In the pop-up, it's going to give you a default directory, which is the one that we have for our current project. So that is good. VCS, we want to associate it with Perforce. Select OK. Go ahead and select save. And in all likelihood, you're going to see a couple pop-ups there giving you warnings and telling you that Perforce connection problems, the server is not available and Perforce is offline. That is fine. Go ahead and minimize that. If we push Control Alt S again, and in here under version control, we come down here now to Perforce. Now we need to set everything else up in here. Go ahead and select Perforce is online. You can have this set or not. Switch to offline mode automatically if Perforce is unavailable. This is going to allow you to work on a local copy if for some reason your Perforce server is not online, but you might have adverse effects on that if you're working on a big team and you have other people working on files. So that may not be the best thing to have selected. I'm going to deselect it for right now. And if you have a bunch of your environment variables set up, you can go ahead and leave it there, but we don't have a bunch of them set up. I'm going to enter everything here manually. So if we select use connection parameters in the server port, go ahead and change all this and enter your actual server IP, including the port. Come down here, username. My username is Fred in this particular instance, and character set, I'm just going to leave that where it's at none. Come down here, you can use P4 ignore environment variable, or you can specify exactly what your P4 is, but we've already set our P4 ignore environment variable, so I'm going to leave that set there. And you can create like a log file of all the Perforce commands that are sent out, but I'm not worried about that. I don't need that extra file, so that is unselected. And we want to use login authentication. Make sure your path to the P4 executable is set, as well as the path to the P4 VC executable. And we could test the connection here. So let's go ahead and select test connection. And for me, I got an error that pops up that says Perforce connection problems. And the connection problem is client unknown. I'm going to guess here that it is the Workspace client. So I'm going to enter the workspace here, and I'm going to go Fred underscore Evo Core, as that is the name of my workspace. Let's try this again. Select test connection, and there we go. Now we get a Perforce connection state, connection successful. Go ahead and select OK. So now we have everything set up properly. If we scroll down just a little bit further, we got show branching history. Not too big of a deal. Leave it as default. Show integrated change list and commit changes. Leave that set as default. Server timeout 20 seconds. That's fine. I'm going to leave that disabled as well. So now if we select save, also worth noting, if you are using JetBrains Writer as well, I am using the new UI and not the traditional. If you push Control-Alt-S or go into your settings, you're going to see here under Appearance and Behavior, new UI, I have this enabled. So it may look a little bit different than yours. And if that's the case, you can either enable this or just understand that I'm using just a different look. It's just different appearance. So now how do we check out files? So let's come in here now. Traditionally, you might be able to right click and select to check it out or whatever, but just pick the file you want. Let's open it up. So now if we come in here, and I'm not going to do anything major to this. I'm just going to make any sort of change. I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to say clear read-only status, meaning that essentially we want to check this out. You can do so using the file system or using version control integration, that's what we want to do. We want to integrate our version control, and with that the change list changes. Even though in the P4V it says default, this is just the name of the change list here locally. And for our own posterity, if we don't want to get this every single time, then go ahead and tick do not show this dialog in the future and select OK. There we go. Now we have enabled it and we can edit it without any issues. It's going to show here in the green all the stuff that we've done. But now if we come down here into the version control tab, or Alt-9 for Perforce, open this up, and you can see here now we've got this change list. It says changes one file, and if we select that one file, it's going to show us in here under the commit exactly what has been changed, anything green in here. So now if I come in here and I just go integer equals 5, whatever, that's fine. We come in here now and you can see that we added that here. So now with that, let's just confirm that this is in fact checking it out within the Perforce server. If we jump into P4V, and you might have to hit refresh, so go ahead and hit refresh. And in the default change list, it does show there's something in here, and we have checked out the game mode base.h, which is what we have checked out there. So if we come in here now and just double check into the depot, open this up, source, EVA core, and there you go. You can also see it's checked out right there, which means in the Unreal Engine, it should show it as there as well, even if you don't have P4V open. And to commit our changes now, if you come down in here, you can either just right click on the file, you can revert it, which is what we're going to do here in a second. You can submit the file, you can add a new change list, plenty of things that you could do in here. And hovering over the Perforce block right here will give you pretty much everything that you already have right in here. So if we select commit, right click on here and submit file, or right in here, select commit. And if we do that, it's going to pop up here with this handy little window, and you can actually resize this. It's going to let you know exactly what was changed here. This is what was changed. Enter your commit message. Did nothing really. Test. And then you get some other options in here. And when you hit commit, it's going to commit all the files that are within that change list. And currently we only have the one. Make any other options that you want, and then you can click submit. But I'm actually going to hit cancel because I'm going to revert it. So now if I come up here and I can either revert the entire change list, all these over here deals with the entire change list, or if you go over just a single file, right click it, I'm going to revert it, and it's going to ask you, it's going to give you a list of all the files that you have in there. You can check and uncheck the ones that you want to revert the changes to. Select revert, and there you go. You can see that it all has gone away. Our changes, it's updating the change list. It's going to show empty. There it goes. And our file has been reverted back to where it was before. And if we press enter, it's going to automatically check out the file again, just like we did before. So with Visual Studio started up, I do not have the project loaded at this time. Come up here to extensions, manage extensions. Going to come down here and I'm going to search for Perforce. And then down here, there's a few in here, but the authentic one, P4VS, it is created by Perforce software. I verified that this is the current version. And it is for free. So go ahead and select download. And then once it's done, it's going to tell you that the changes are scheduled and it will begin when we restart Visual Studios. Go ahead and close this out, and I'm going to go ahead and close Visual Studios application. And after downloading the P4VS plug in. You're going to be, and you close out the Visual Studio application, you're going to be presented with this. So let's go ahead and select modify. And then once it's done, you're going to have the completion message. Go ahead and close it down, and let's open it back up. Again, right click on here for me, and I'm going to open with Visual Studios 2019. Now we're back in Visual Studios. We need to do make a few settings in here. So go up to Tools, Options, and let's collapse it down. Go down to Source Control. Make sure that P4VS is set as your current source control plugin. In here, we get a few options here. Let's go to Helix Core Connections. Now you get the option to show the Helix Core server connection dialog. Every time you start up Visual Studios, it'll pop this window open for you to connect to it. You can have that one, or connect to the server using most recent settings, connect to the server using solution specific settings, and connect to the server using Helix Core environment settings. We don't have any environment variables set up, so I'm not going to do that. I will probably just do connect to the server using my most recent settings, or you can have the connection dialog box if you want. Either one works, whatever's best for you. Come down here, you can check the other settings in here if you want, but the only one worth noting for me is if you come down here to the General tab under Source Control, come down to Lock Files on Checkout. I don't know why it's defaulted to false, but you definitely want it to lock files on checkout. You don't want other people to submit changes under your nose while you're working on a file. When you check it out, lock the file from other people taking it. Now, if you're a solo developer, then you could probably leave that unchecked, but either way, go ahead and check all the other information here, see if there's any other settings that you want to set, and if so, then go ahead and make those changes. Go ahead and select OK. Now there's two ways we can log into the server. First of which, if you come up here to File, you've got Open Connection to Helix Core Server, or you can come down here to the bottom of the screen, Add to Source Control, select that, and select Helix Core. Both of them are going to do the same thing. It's going to pop up the Open Connections dialog box. This should look familiar from when we open up Perforce, the P4V client. So enter your server here, username, enter that. My name is Fred. Come down here to Workspace. Now that we have that in here, we should be able to select Browse, and it's going to check the server for us. And there we go. We get this little pop-up here with the owner being Fred. That's me. Come down here. We got Fred EvaCore, so we can select that. Select OK, and it's going to pick the workspace for us, or you can just simply type it in there if you want, and then select OK. Now we get the adding new solution files to the Helix Core server. It asks us to check a change list. You can either create a new one or default, as we've discussed before. Just stick with default, you are fine. You can create a change list description if you want. Don't worry about it. I don't want to show this dialog again. Always use the active change list. So I'm going to hit the checkbox there. Select OK. And if you get this pop-up message, don't worry about it. Essentially what it's telling you here is it's trying to add the evacore.sln, the solution file, and it tells you that it can't. It comes down here, ignored files can't be added. Remember, in our P4 ignore, we made it ignore solution files. We don't need to do that because you don't want, if you're working in a team, you don't want anybody else to get the solution file. And even if you're working on just two different stations as a solo developer, you still don't really want to include the solution file. You just want to generate the solution files themselves. So go ahead and select OK. And you're probably going to get a list of different files in here. Right now, it's in the intermediate file. It's just going to go through and check them all and just hit OK for all of them as they pop up. Once you got through all that, should be ready to go. So you can see over here, now we got some green dots on here. So it should be familiar from looking at P4V client. If we come over here to source, EvaCore, and we got our game mode base here. So there's a couple things you could do is, here we go. We're making a change. Let's see if we can do what we did in the last one. Hit enter, and it'll take it a second, but you'll see what it did here is it automatically checked it out for us. You can hit the drop down list here, and it's going to have this separate little indicator right here, but you can see it is checked out. It's got the little checkbox in there. Or you can come up here and just right click on the file and you can go check out EvaCore game mode base.cpp. And there you go. You see it's going to check that one out for you as well. One last thing you can do, you can come up here to your toolbar menu. Now that we've enabled P4VS, you come down here, you see an option P4VS. Select that one, and it's going to throw a bunch of buttons up here on the screen for you, all of which you would expect for checking out, for add, submit, reconcile, things like that. So if we select one that's not already checked out, you can see we have the option now to change. We can check that file out. We can reconcile it offline. So all these different options. I'll let you go through it and check it all out. So real quick, let's go ahead and revert, since that's what we did in the last one. With this selected, we come up here and we can go revert, revert if unchanged, etc. So we just want to revert the file. There we go. File is reverted. If we come over here, remember we added the extra spaces in here. I'm going to hit another one here, add an extra asterisk. We're going to come over and revert this file as well. Make sure it is selected, revert, and it says reverting will overwrite your changes to the following file. Yes, I'm okay with that. I know that's what revert does. And then once it's done, you can see it collapsed to its original state. Well, the last thing I wanted to touch on before we end this video is if you wanted to change your password. Well, how do we go about it? Come up to connections, down at the very bottom, you've got change password, and there you go. Enter your old password, and then you can enter a new password there. If you forgot your password, get with your system administrator or the super user and ask them to reset your password for you. They can do that. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please do me a favor. Go down, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit subscribe while you're down there liking it. Leave me a comment if you have any questions, suggestions, thoughts, opinions. Jump on over to the Discord. Be a part of the community. Join the conversation. And until the next video, peace.